Meeting for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room is now open, conservation meeting. And I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for May 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have a new public hearing for 506 West Center Street, and I will read that in the agenda. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, MGL, as amended, the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the rules and regulations, and the West Bridgewater Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, on a notice of intent at 506 West Center Street for proposed redevelopment, including new convenience store, fuel pumps, parking, landscape, utility, and stormwater management improvements. All right, we are open on that.
Good evening, Chairman Anderson and Commissioners. Attorney Danielle Dufault on behalf of the applicant, Columbia Enterprises LLC, for the development, as the Chairman noted, for 506 West Center Street. That's lot 57, and there's portions of lot 59 and 61, which I will explain to you. So just for history, for the applicant's proposed redevelopment of its property at 506 West Center Street. So the applicant has owned that parcel since 2008. It acquired that. It's an existing Shell station that the applicant acquired from Shell back in 2008, and they've been continuing to operate it as such. For permitting history, and I'm not sure if the commission remembers or was here at the time, back in 2018, we had started this permitting process for the redevelopment. It's a full raise and rebuild of the existing site to put a Seasons Corner Market, new gas pumps, and et cetera. We had started the process back in 2018, and we're kind of trucking merrily along, and then we had COVID. So that paused the project, and actually, in hindsight, probably for the better, because recently applicant has been able to acquire portions of the abutting parcel, and that's the reference I made to lots 59 and 61, to have a better, more complete Seasons Corner Market to the specs that they would usually raise and rebuild these developments. As you know, that the existing station is a bit dated. I know it's a bit of an understatement, but we've been very eager to raise and rebuild and put up a new station in Corner Market. So that's the permitting history. We've also filed applications for zoning and planning, and we're just proceeding along the process now. With me tonight from Dupree Engineering is Daniel Petrovic, who will give you more of a complete explanation of what's proposed at the property. Once he gives his presentation, if you have any questions of myself or Daniel, we'll be happy to answer them.
Let me know where you want me to go with them. This is perfect to start. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Petrovic. I'm a civil engineer at Dupree Engineering with offices at 2 Stafford Court in Cranston, Rhode Island. As you can see in front of you, this is the existing conditions plan for the existing Shell gas station at 506 West Center Street. To give you guys a little bit of background, the 2 parcels that Danielle was referring to are parcel B right here and parcel A, which is, if you scroll up a little bit on the screen, you can see. As we get through the local entitlements, we will be consolidating these lots together. The site currently consists of a convenience store, 4 fuel dispenser islands covered by a canopy. It has 1 drive-through car wash that is not operational at the moment, underground storage tanks, and associated parking spaces. Topography ranges from approximately 95 at the building to about 74, elevation 74 in the rear of the site. And you can actually see currently, if you go down a little bit, the grade really drops off towards the back of the site. Currently, stormwater flows from north to south, so that's predominantly from the bottom of your screen to the top of the screen, and ends up in either the wetland, which is in the top right-hand corner, or it continues on to the abutter. A small portion of the site does run out to West Center Street, where it's captured in these catch basins out here in the right-of-way. Currently, the stormwater on site is captured by one of two catch basins located right here and here, which is then directed directly to that stormwater basin where it overflows into the wetland. The wetland flags are shown on this plan as previously approved from the ANRAD filing a few months ago. And one other thing to note for this site is hydraulic soil groups A and D were used in our drainage analysis. You can see from the way that topo drops off in the back and the wetland that the D soils tend to be in that back portion, and we have A soils in the front of our site. We also completed test bits, which were able to confirm what the web soil survey showed us. If you want to go ahead, I think 2 plans. Yeah, keep going. And 1 more. Yeah, this works. So, this is our proposed site layout plan. The project is a mix of redevelopment and new development as defined by the Mass Stormwater Standards. The site proposes a 4,600 square foot convenience store located right here with associated drive-through and parking spaces. We're proposing 6 fuel dispensers with a canopy right here and 1 single DEF fluid dispenser island right here. There is an existing highway sign on site that is located, will be in the middle of the site, so we're proposing to relocate that sign. And the existing underground storage tanks for the fuel will remain. There will be a total of three retaining walls to fight that big drop-off that we have in the back of the site. The first one being right here, second one being here, and the third being a smaller knee wall on the parcel B. As you can see, we have a green hatched area right here. This is a 30-foot access easement, and that access is to the larger warehouse development that is going on behind of us. We have filed a request for a determination with DOT, and that is currently under their review. So as we know more, I guess we'll report back. But my point is that changes are possible due to that coordination. Can you keep going to the drainage plan? Perfect. So this is our proposed utility and drainage plan. As you can see, we will use a combination of deep sump, hooded and hooded catch basins routed through an oil grit separator, a bio filtration system, which will be a focal point, and a detention pond prior to being released to the wetland down here. The focal point has been sized in accordance with the Mass DEP certification and was included in the stormwater report. And the treatment train includes pre-treatment that will remove TSS, total phosphorus, and provide water quality in accordance with the Mass Stormwater Standards and the West Bridgewater Authority's comprehensive stormwater regulations. The proposed development follows the same ultimate drainage pattern, going from north to south. It's a little confusing because we have done a 180 from the existing conditions plan when we were initially talking about that. But the same overall drainage patterns will remain. We will be reducing the peak flow rates in all storm events. This project will be constructed in 1 phase, and the soil erosion and sediment control plan will show the measures that will be installed and maintained throughout construction. We are requesting one stormwater waiver, and that is because of the soils that I spoke about earlier in my presentation. The good A soils, which are better for infiltration, are located at the front of the site, and the D soils that are not as good for infiltration are located at the bottom of the site. In order to still, create the same treatment train that's required with the water quality and provide what we need, we're able to accomplish that without infiltration and using the focal point, but unfortunately we cannot provide recharge. So we're requesting a waiver from the recharge requirement. And that pretty much sums it up for my presentation, so I'll go over to Daniel.
So I just wanted to reiterate something that Daniel mentioned in his presentation was, as you can see both on the stormwater plan and previous to the site plan, and actually Tim, can you move to this, please? And understanding that this is, will be more closely vetted by the planning board and zoning boards as well, was just pointing out to you. So we've made a request for determination from Mass DOT, as you can see, for the curb cuts, and because this property is encumbered by that green access easement area. So depending on the comments we received back from Mass DOT and whether, as they've indicated prior to this point, they're not huge fans of that access easement area, because you can see with the curb cuts, placements to access the site. So that it was submitted approximately a month ago. We're waiting to receive comments. As you know, the Mass DOT has already looked at some of these plans for the development to the rear. So they've previously commented on it, but we will be subject to the same. That's why we made the request for determination.
And
So we're just waiting for
the
that.
station owns that easement?
We own the property, and it's an easement in favor of the abutter.
Okay, so you're allowing them to,
Yes.
and who's not in favor of it? Station?
Quite frankly,
Owners?
neither one of us.
Really?
Because, well, you can see some of the implications to the site that it makes. And it makes it very challenging. It's also making the grading very challenging. As Daniel mentioned, it's almost a 20-foot difference in grade.
And redoing the station, you're coming back.
Yes, they're
in order.
pushing it back a little, which was why acquiring this parcel A area, as we call it, moving that back a little.
But is it also because you're putting in another lane for that access road?
No, so the access stayed as it was. We've reduced it from 60 feet to 30 feet already, but it still presents issues. And we're, of course, while we can wish for whatever we want and design whatever we want, we are subject to Mass DOT and their comment, and of course, the towns and however we figure that out. So it just wanted to point it out to the commission because it's a to be determined, and maybe, so what we're here for tonight, the actual system that gets installed, as Daniel explained, doesn't change all that much if this were to move. It would just potentially move the site a little over to the east, potentially. But we just wanted to flag it for the commission that, subject to comments from DOT, if we have to do some site layout redesign.
So if they don't like that, and they say no, the road's not gonna be used for that?
We're gonna have to.
I thought that was actually almost a done deal for that.
Yeah.
Yes, not
If
that.
DOT comes back and says they don't like it, and the
Okay.
town has to say no, they don't want the entrance where it is, I'm assuming it would probably be parking area?
We'll have to, yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be paved, so it won't affect
It
stormwater.
doesn't-
No, I
it doesn't
understand. I would
change
just-
the impervious surface.
So like, it's all up to DOT. Okay, which is kinda good because they're the ones that should know better.
And that's, it's all part of this, and I think while, the applicant is eager to fix up the station, and knows that it's necessary, we also we're running quickly, but we may have to pause, take a few steps back, but that's why we just wanted to flag that to the commission. But noting that, as we said, not a lot of the actual stormwater management system as it was set forth in the material submitted by Dupree would change. It's almost, if I think about it, would shift a little bit. But as Tim was just saying, the impervious surface doesn't quite change because it's currently that's impervious surface, it would stay impervious surface. It would just allow for a little bit more flexibility in the design, but
Yep.
that's really all. So, but I just wanted to point that out to
I
you.
have a couple of questions on the new, on the parking area to the right. I assume that's parking?
Yes,
It's not there now, I don't think.
correct, it is not.
And
there
that's
now.
for,
Mostly employee
Mostly-
parking.
tell me about the drainage. It's impervious surface, so,
Yeah, correct. If you want to go to, yeah, one more plan over. We're doing the best job we can to pick up all the impervious area. So there's a catch basin right,
Oops, sorry about that. Move a little faster, is it?
there it is, CV12. So that all of this area drains to that catch basin, which then will be routed to the system.
okay.
The only small amount that we won't be able to capture would be below that. So,
My other question was on the recharge
Yeah. I was just
Yes.
you
gonna say that.
mentioned. Could you explain that a little? What I picture is standing water because you can't recharge it.
Yeah, no, so, it's a great question. If you go down, this is our detention pond at the bottom of the
Yeah.
site.
Right.
And the way we're outletting the system, we're gonna have an under drain, which is this 10-foot pipe going into the outlet control structure. So that'll actually, that under drain will be below the finish grade of the bottom of this detention system. And then that will all be able to flow out to this area over here, which is lower than what the bottom of the detention
So
system.
it's a recharge of,
So,
well, you're not really it's being filtered through the,
yeah, and so all the water quality treatment occurs before then.
right.
Some recharge will happen. We just can't take credit for it, right? Like naturally it'll happen as it's within the pond.
Okay.
But it's,
More semantics than,
right,
yeah, at least it will drain out into the wetlands.
exactly. There won't, with this design, there won't be standing water.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Gotcha.
And I think if I could just follow up on, and Daniel's the expert on that, but as I think about it, and as he had mentioned, the way the site both lies from north to south and the grade change, the applicant tried to take advantage of that and while accounting for it in the design of where it most naturally fits in Daniel, correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong,
I mean,
where it
that's
most
a
naturally fits
Big
to
drop in the
drain,
back
right.
there.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of grading at this thing. So, that's how I think about it. It most naturally flows to that point.
So that recharge area, there won't be any standing water there?
Maybe
So
briefly.
it's not a recharge area. The detention pond here will
Would you-
be outletted
you
from
said-
this.
Well, you said something for a request for
They're looking for the waiver for the
Waiver for
recharge in
recharge.
that.
Right, so we're unable to provide recharge because of the soils that are out here. But in this area, it'll eventually drain out because of this under drain we have. So there won't be standing water within this area.
All right.
How far back do you figure you're gonna be coming back with the station?
So you can see if,
I was gonna try to.
yeah, that's the existing station right there.
The existing store.
Yeah, where these, yeah, this is the convenience store right now.
It's quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, this,
So this is the existing drop-off in the back of the site right now, these lines, that's the topography and existing.
If you're familiar with that, the current barrier that's there that wraps around the drive-through, so that's that area Daniel was just pointing out. There's you can actually.
It's actually, if you
see
use-
the- yeah.
so, if you use the car wash, which is this structure right over in this area, it's back from where the car wash sits.
Yeah. So some fills going in. I would imagine.
Lot of
So,
stuff.
some
Right.
fill is going in.
Yeah, so basically this would be where the proposed new Seasons Corner Market is, would be down the hill, at the bottom of the hill.
You know, I
right next to-
suppose, and it's not our purview here, but one of the biggest challenges has always been traffic in and out of there, particularly coming out.
Traffic.
I don't know how that gets resolved, but that's not what we do here, so,
And that's why I mentioned the
Yeah.
request for determination with Mass
Right.
DOT.
which is gonna be all changed anyway, that whole,
Yes, yes. So that's why I was trying to describe it as we're hurrying up, we're running towards to the finish line,
Sure.
knowing that we might have to back up a little bit.
right.
Mass DOT are also bumping up against the potential moratorium. So, once that roadway's fixed, so that's all of what we're trying to, and we've met, we've had multiple meetings with
Yeah.
the town. Michael White's been very helpful, Tim's been very helpful about the best way to proceed, knowing there's certain challenges to the
Yeah.
site, both off of West Center Street and the topography and the layout, and understanding what the town's plans are for the West Center Street, Lincoln Street interchange and all of that. So
Right.
being cognizant of that, we need to get on our collective.
Well, you gotta
horses.
move forward as far as you can go.
Correct. Yeah, that's how it would.
So the two drains that are there now, existing in the parking lot, that's the only two that are there?
Correct, yeah, the portion of the site and existing drains out to West Center Street,
Okay.
but most of the site right now in existing drains to two catch basins, but then go to that existing stormwater basin that's up
And
there.
they've been there since the station's been there, right? Basically, those two drains?
I don't know, I imagine they were installed when they did the redevelopment and the car wash.
Oh, true.
I'm not too sure.
So, just, I don't know, for the audience, how many more drains are gonna be added to it? And the detention area over there in the corner is where it's all gonna go? A separate portion of it's gonna go out to the street?
So we're reducing flows to, the flow rates to all of our design
Yep.
points. So we're reducing the flow rate to the street, we're reducing the flow rate to the wetland, and we're gonna be reducing the flow rate to the abutter.
But it's all gonna come down into one area?
Yeah, so as you can see, these two roof leaders are gonna tie into that existing basin.
Okay.
But other than that, it's pretty much all handed.
So it's all gonna go into either one of those?
Correct, yeah.
And it's gonna slow down the flow significantly from what it is now?
I have, yeah, let me grab my paper books.
Do you know what the flow is now into that wetland
Yes,
compared to what it's gonna be?
correct. Yeah. So it looks like we're reducing, by about, in the 2-year storm, 0.4 CFS, 10-year storm, 2 CFS, 25-year, 1 CFS, and the 100-year storm, 1.5 CFS.
So can I explain that so people, everybody can understand it, including me?
Yeah.
It is a reduction.
It's a reduction overall in all storm events, so when we get a crazy big storm, we're managing that flow that's coming through in
So
the
how
smaller
much of the
storms.
flow is gonna be reduced, like how cubic feet,
Yeah, so,
CFS.
I mean, just, yeah, I mean, how much is there now? What do you think
Well,
that
so
there's
we're-
flowing now?
so in the 2-year storm, it's going from 2.84 CFS to 2.46. 10 years, 6.3 to 4.2. 25 is 8.338 to 7.48. And the 100 years, 13.16 to 11.74.
So it is,
And so just, Daniel, if you can point out, so you said, and correct me again if I'm wrong, so there's 2 existing catch basins currently at the site? Is
Correct.
that- And how many are we adding? So it looks like there's proposed, looks like 4 to me, or 6?
I think 6.
Yeah.
2, 3.
so you're adding 4 more or 2 more
Adding
to the
4
existing?
Adding 4 more.
Adding 4 more, so
Yeah.
it'll be 4.
I think one of the significant changes is the roof drains are what's connected to the existing stormwater structure. not the catch basins. Catch basins are all gonna be going through the treatment system.
Yeah.
So all the
correct. So-
street, parking lot, pavement runoff is getting treated and going through the system. And it's only the roof drains, which is pretty much clear water for the most part,
Correct.
going into the existing system.
And as Daniel pointed out, there is that existing runoff area, but an entirely new system and as we showed, it's, significantly larger than what exists in that separate, just roughly looking at it, we're talking at least double the size of the existing, which is a new detention pond, as Daniel described. So with adding those catch basins, treating the roof runoff, and then adding that detention basin with the drainage underneath, and as Daniel said, we can't take credit for recharge, but just naturally a recharge happens because of the way where it's placed on the site with the topography and the infrastructure that is used to make and runs under that detention basin as well.
So if the property owner in the last couple of years were able to acquire those two parcels, if he or she wasn't able to acquire them, would this be able to work?
No, not this site. No,
Okay,
not at all.
so-
Because as we
Certainly
were pointing
down
out,
below,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
approximately where the property line and where the proposed canopy is to be placed is where the existing convenience store currently sits.
So I guess it worked out for the property owner.
Yeah, I remember in the way back machine when we started this, it's a very tough site. Just, there's challenges everywhere. The easement area, the topography, the location on West Center Street is very difficult. And we had done it and we were moving along. This is a vast improvement to what was previously proposed in 2018.
Well, no matter what, it definitely needed to be updated, so.
Along those lines, you mentioned the storage tanks will stay. I'm sure you've done extensive review of the tanks to make sure they've got a substantial lifetime left.
And do we have, we can get back to you if we don't know off the
That's
top of
just-
my head when it was replaced. But typically when we have the 2 tanks versus the 3, they're the double-walled steel tanks, stainless steel tanks. But we can get follow-up information.
Yeah, I'm sure that if there were major construction and they needed to be replaced, they would be.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
mess around with that. Commissioner, I know you had a.
Yeah, I have a question about the wetlands. I can't see where you designated the wetlands, and I'm just wondering if, with the extension, if you're working, if you're still in wetland, outside of wetland area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
we are.
yeah, so it's these little triangles here are the flags. And then this blue dotted line is the 50-foot offset.
Okay.
And this is the 100-foot here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Guess I can open it up to the people if they have any questions.
I'll ask.
Yeah,
I was just going to ask, by the nature of what this site does with so much gas and oil present and the potential for it to drip, is there anything special? You mentioned DEP and whatnot, but what happens special to take that runoff and filter the oil out of the water?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. One of the things we do at a lot of these sites, and is a common practice, is the oil grit separator helps with that. The focal point is also, we've used it on many sites previously. And we're also providing a higher amount of pre-treatment than we would. So, with the TSS removal, which helps with that kind of pollutants. So-
Is that maintenance free, or does it have to be?
No, so there's an operation and maintenance plan that goes with the whole site, and it covers the oil grit separators, the catch basins, all the stormwater infrastructure that will be put in place post-construction.
Thank you.
You said it helps. Does it eliminate it?
What's your question exactly?
Well, any toxic stuff going into the wetlands? Does it get rid of everything?
So We're actually, the required pre-treatment is 44%. We're providing more than that. And then also with the West Bridgewater specific regs, you guys put an even higher level to that and include a minimum requirement for phosphorus removal. One of the reasons we're implementing the focal point at this site, because it gets a high amount of that treatment. As far as 100% eliminating, I don't know if we can say that. We have the TSS removal calculations in the stormwater report that we can look at, or maybe try and get back to you with some more information. But
So if I can I have questions now, just so I can clarify. So there's two points at which treatment is provided. You have the oil grit separators that do their job, and then you also have the focal point system that's where that new detention pond is proposed. Is that correct? So there's treatment going on with the focal point system as well. So it's like a double cleansing of it. But if does what we are proposing to put in there with the oil grit separator or the focal point system, that not only complies with the standards of the Massachusetts standard, but the town standards as well.
And you're going over that.
we're going above. Yeah,
Above
we
that,
have
yes.
the TSS calculations, and one of the great things about Focal Point is they come out to your site. They reviewed our design. They looked at it. Ferguson's company got back to us. We worked with them on the design, and then when it's actually time to install the system, they will come out to the site with whatever contractors out there and help them install it to make sure it gets designed, not only designed to their specifications, but constructed to their specifications.
Do the requirements of specifications increase like every few years as in?
That's part of the operation and maintenance plan, and that they have to maintain the records, and part of the requirement for our bylaw is they have to submit those records to us to make sure they are done. And that's where this really gets important, because if they don't maintain it, it's not gonna do its job, and therefore you're gonna have contaminants getting in.
So you could be, so this, when this happens, this could be better than just say the Cumberland Farms down the street from what it was years ago, right?
Or even the existing site that's there now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a vast
Oh,
improvement
well,
over.
definitely on that one, because
Yeah.
it's been there so long.
And my understanding is the O&M plan takes into consideration from inception through, right? So that's why it's the operations and the maintenance plan. So that is something that's required, like Daniel said, post-closing, it's signed by the applicant, and it's a commitment that they're going to follow that the O&M plan, as it's been vetted by several consultants.
And they have no choice other than to.
Oh, there's no choice.
Yeah,
It's
which is
required.
great,
Yeah.
because they can't say, oh, no, whatever.
Right, right. Yeah, and the applicant has this regularly, they've entered into O&M plans for, to my knowledge, all the sites that we've done, almost on every single site, both in the Commonwealth and in Rhode Island.
Well, the site is there, it's working, and so whatever we're doing are vast improvements over what we've got now, so
Definitely needs an upgrade, yeah.
I'm all set.
Anybody else in the audience have anything to say? Or ask?
I'd just like to know who oversees that maintenance of that filtration system? Is there a government that watches over?
They have
that?
to maintain it themselves, and then they have to submit records
Does someone keep an
to
eye
the,
on that?
and they
Or that?
come into the town hall, and the Conservation Commission receives them, and we keep them on file, and
Okay.
they have to do it on an annual
It
basis.
isn't like the guy that checks the gas pumps or something like that? the
No,
weights and
they
measures
have
and anything like that?
A professional company that's licensed by the state come in and check out
Oh, all right.
all of their drainage system.
I always wanted to go back out those. The elevator guy too. When's the last time he was here?
My recommendation's gonna be a 53G peer review, just because of the size of the structure. I know zoning and planning typically will be asking for one, so we will work together to use the
Then
same
we'll
one.
move forward or waiting for the DOT?
I think we're gonna continue to move forward. This is this was the design that we have for now. And we've done this before, right? So and the applicants had this happen before where we've fully designed the project. You have to submit, and again, this is the same in the Commonwealth and in Rhode Island, you submit to the DOT and.
Because they're always close to state access. And-
Yeah, and it's even, even like the curb cuts and
Yeah.
the width of the curb cuts and, the driveways and all of that. So the applicant always knows that's a possibility, that they're gonna have to pivot
Yeah.
at some point.
Sure.
We're always planning for that. And in that instance, if we have to come back for, amendment to modification to the approvals, the applicant also has done that before. We've worked on a few. So while challenging and it's pending out there, we're still planning on moving forward. And if we have to come back, we're ready to come back, so.
Okay. All set?
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to hire a 53G.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll also entertain a motion to continue to
You wanna go to the 18th?
So will you have the?
We'll probably have a 53G, I'm guessing, by the end of this week, and they can start the process. I don't know when you have zoning or planning.
It hasn't been docketed yet, so we're waiting to hear from Mike and the board. So.
I mean, we could start the process, we can always continue
Continue it.
it,
So
and then
let's-
I will tell you, we only meet once in July.
Okay.
So it would be the later meeting, not the first, it would be the third Tuesday.
Sure, so
So-
do you want to plan on doing the 18th, and if
And if
there's no
not, we can,
movement, we can
move it.
continue it to a July meeting, is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue to June 18th.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we
Aye.
can continue if we have to. All right?
Good.
How about the?
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Good luck. Thanks for all the info.
So the next one is 432, 440 West Center Street, and I'll read this into the agenda. So under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 MGL, as amended, the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaw and rules and regulations, and the West Bridgewater Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, on a notice of intent at 432, 440 West Center Street to propose redevelopment to construct a car wash facility, parking, and associated utilities. All set?
Good evening. Good evening, I'm Gary Tunison from Tunison Environmental Consultants. I'm here on behalf of my client, Professional Auto Detailing Center. Also this evening, I have a representative from, it's Scott Feria from JK Holmgren Engineering, the project engineer. So I'd like to start out with discussing, I'll be brief. I'm going to cover what's going on the site, the project, and the mitigation. So the site currently consists of 2 single-family homes that are located up in this area here of the project area. The majority of the area in green is currently disturbed. There's a lot of lawn in those areas, and the area where it's all white is currently disturbed. It's over 88,000 square feet. The proposed project is approximately 28,000 square feet, and it is being located where the home at 440 West Center Street is, and a small portion of the house over here on 432 West Center Street. So a portion of the home is actually going to be part of the ecological restoration area. But before I get into that, there are wetlands on the site, of course, that's why we're here. So the area in blue are the wetland resource areas. So one is a bordering vegetated wetland, BVW. There is an intermittent stream in here, so it borders on the bank of an intermittent stream. There's also a small isolated B1 through B4 isolated wetland located over here. The entire project area is within an area critical environmental concern, and a portion of the site is within rare species priority and estimated habitat, which is located on 432 Center Street, so this area over here, and then it kind of curves around, so it's this area. So the project area is approximately 28,000 square feet, as I mentioned. So this is going to be an automated car wash facility, and it is completely self-sustaining as far as the water is recycled, reused, and then once it gets, I guess, over multiple cycles when it's dirty, it's contained on-site. Truck comes and pumps it out. So it recycles the water, so it is efficient. So the area, also all of the stormwater drainage is going into deep hooded sump catch basins. I believe there's oil and grit separator, and all of the drainage is being infiltrated underneath the parking lot in this area. So it's up to the 100-year storm, so it's all being infiltrated on the site. This project is not only before the commission, a project review was filed with Natural Heritage back in November. So they've seen the project. They're on board with everything, that as long as we provide what we say we're going to provide. So that information was provided in the notice of intent. You probably saw it's a large application. And then we also have to go before NEPA because we are within the ACEC. So, and it would be rare species habitat, but in this situation, we're not 3 acres. It's only 0.63 acres that's being disturbed on the site. So, and that's this area in white. So the area in green, this is a proposed ecological restoration area. So we are proposing to take the lawn area. There aren't a lot of invasives within the lawn area. So instead of ripping it up and having all of this area open, it's mostly native fescues and rye. So I don't see an issue with leaving it in place and seeding on top of it. We're going to put conservation mix in, and native shrubs and native trees. Now, we are cutting several trees, and under your rules and regulations, there are a few native trees. We're doing at least 2-to-1 replication of those, and then we're cutting out a whole bunch of Norway maples. That's going to be required because they are invasive. We are also eliminating the invasive plants that are on the site. We have a proposed invasive plants, a plant eradication plan. It's part of the ecological restoration plan. And I've put all the details in to explain all of the steps, and if they're followed, I do a lot of these. A lot of people hire me for this type of work, that as well as wetland replication. Because I'm very thorough. I work with a handful of contractors, a very small handful, that I've worked with for years that are very good at doing this. So we have a lot of success with them, and of course it's diligence and following through. So that's the most important thing when it comes to the ecological restorations and invasive plant species eradication. So at the end of the project, of course the area in blue, which is the wetlands, and the area in green here, this area we didn't color in because it's well off in the corner of the property. Nothing's going on over there. So we ended our delineation here at flag, I think that's 20, is that 25? I think it's flag A25. So because everything's going on up here, we didn't continue. So because I think it just kind of wraps around like this, but I wasn't going to color that area in without confirming. So, but this area down to here, this entire section, which you can see is much larger than the project area. I believe it's about twice the size of the project area. That area is going to be put in a permanent conservation restriction. So along with just not only the ecological restoration plan, there will be a 15-year monitoring program as required by Natural Heritage. So we're going to make sure it does what we say it's doing. So I think that's pretty much it. You can see here we are working, this is a 25-foot buffer zone. We are working in a very small portion of the 25-foot buffer zone. This area is currently all lawn. We are working in a small portion of the 50-foot buffer zone here, That area is also logged. So those areas are already currently disturbed. The rest of the site, you know, the houses, like I said, they come down to about here with the patios and those areas. So that's where the project is focused. There is also, regarding trees, there's one large, it's outside the 100-foot buffer, it's over here. There's a large white pine. So we put, I think we did at least three to one replication of the plants. And again, this isn't, we're not gonna dump them in and say, hey, 2 years and we're done. It's 15 years, so they're gonna grow. So if they don't, we'll have to take them out. Natural Heritage will require us to do that.
You monitor the invasives too coming back?
Yes,
or-
yes. I do many of these. I have several going on in Easton. You know, I have them around.
As you know, they come back really fast.
They can. My experience has been if you do it well, the first year you take out the majority of the plants.
They don't.
Second and third year, if there's a decent seed bank, they come back. And sometimes it's worse. But if you stay on it, within 3 or 4 years, they'll peter out. And if you put native plants, you plant heavily, and it's successful, you'll notice it drops off 3 or 4%. But if you don't, if you're not diligent, they can come back.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but the invasive plants, many of them fix the nitrogen in the soil so that the nitrogen levels are higher, which favors the invasives. So that's why you'll always see, you know, usually find just one invasive, you find
Oh,
a
yeah,
ton of them.
yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
typically why.
right.
So that corner part on the bottom there in the red, that you're gonna be working in I can't think of what it is.
Right.
The invasive,
There are
yeah,
invasives.
right on the bottom of the 50-foot or the 25-foot, you said.
Right
That
here.
whole area where the white is, up to
Yes.
the 50-foot, that's all lawn right there?
That's all on. There are a few Norway maples.
Okay.
So there's Norway maples back in this area. I've marked all the trees on the site. Also, if you look at it, they're when I say all the trees, the ones that are being cut. That includes up here, outside, if you drive past, you'll see a couple of the trees have white and blue striped flagging on them. Those are the trees that'll be coming out. Those in the front are Norways. Those are Norway maples. So those are invasive. But in here, and there are a couple spots over here, those are native, and they're within the 100-foot buffer zone. We have counted for all the trees, including the ones outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. So we're doing 1-to-1 for the invasives, 2-to-1 for the natives, and I believe for that large pine, we did 3-to-1.
All down in the mitigation area.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it's all outside of the project area and mitigation area.
So with the water runoff and everything, you said everything was underneath, the recharge was under the...
Yes.
So is that gonna be draining to anywhere?
I believe it's going to, I don't know, what type of, Scott, what units are you using? Are they,
Those are underground storm tech chambers,
Okay. Do they
infiltration
drain?
chambers,
Do they drain anywhere?
into the ground.
Just into the ground?
Yep.
And it's all gonna be recharged? What's the, what do you plan on the flow of how much is gonna be flowing into the wetland, over the?
through infiltration to the groundwater?
Yeah.
Scott, you wanna?
I don't have the exact answer for that, but essentially, there's a fair amount of runoff that goes from the existing site into the wetland untreated. It's 2 house lots, so there's
Yeah.
really no drainage system to speak of. Obviously, with the replication that Garrett's talking about, that'll improve that situation, and the on-site development will be handled with deep sump catch basins, the storm tech chambers themselves, and we have an isolator row with that as well, which handles the stormwater quality part of that.
And, that's all for what, 100-year, you also figured it for 100-year for
A
the
100-year storm, yep.
100-year storm for it?
So this is going to NEPA. I perform NEPA relatively often, so I know that I've seen situations, they like if you could do infiltration. It's definitely preferable, so that's one of the reasons why we did it. We would have done it anyway, but we might have had a small overflow to, to like a bioretention basin or something, but here, we want to infiltrate all of it, so.
But you have one tight tank for the water that you're recycling? and then you pump it?
So I believe there's
periodically?
a system of about 8 different tanks, between settling tanks, aeration tanks.
Yeah.
They're all interconnected. It runs a total of about 200 feet from, you know, West Center Street all the way to the back. And as Garrett mentioned, those series of tanks are, you basically have recycled water that goes through the car wash, and about once a month or so, that's pumped out with fresh water, but essentially, all the water is reclaimed.
Okay.
Okay, so you can actually put fresh water in, doing it until it gets dirty, pumping it out, and then putting fresh water in again?
Correct.
Okay.
And it's not town water, I believe it's coming from a truck.
No, yeah, I understand.
Like a pool truck, you know?
Where does the dirty water go?
Dirty water has to go to licensed facilities. I can, you know, have them answer the question, but it has to be a licensed professional facility by the state.
I'm Roseanne Kedger, and I'm with Professional Auto Detailing. The water will go, there are specialized companies that will pump out. We have them on a contract, we have already made contacts. So they actually come, they pump it out, and they dispose of the water because they have a contract with us. So whenever it reaches a certain level, they will come out, pump it out, and they will dispose of it as ecologically as they will do it themselves, so.
Do you have other facilities? Is this in other places, car washes?
We have one currently in Warwick that we are also in the same process as this.
Oh,
We are
so, yeah.
renovating that, so
Okay,
yes,
so there are 2 new,
yes,
Okay.
2 facilities, yes. We are in over 70 locations doing car detailing and 2 car washes. So yes, we operate.
So all the chemicals that are going through the car wash, are they environmentally safe?
Yes, they are. Our name is Green Wave, so we are, all of our products, they are environmentally friendly, and this is actually our biggest differential because we spare no expenses to make sure that we are doing this for the future and that our clients are getting something that it is for the future, right? So this is something that we focus
And
on.
when you say detailing, is that a separate,
Yes, we are in different locations
but I
doing
mean,
detailing.
you got a car wash and a detail, is it gonna be here?
It's not gonna be here.
Okay,
This
it's
is
just a car wash,
only. This
okay.
is the express location.
Okay.
you mentioned 15 years. Is that like a maximum that you can get right now?
Yep, it's a standard for natural heritage.
And what
under the
happens
Conservation and
after
Management
that?
Plan.
You
Um,
reapply, or?
I don't, after 15 years of the monitoring, and if anything, things that die, we replace.
Yeah,
Spot of invasive comes back, we
Right.
call out the ecological restoration contractor, and they come and remove them.
okay.
And then it gets monitored. Reports have to be every year, an annual report is filed with Natural Heritage.
So if you go 10 years, oh no, it's just say even you go 15 years and then that 14-year certain amount dies, do you start over again from there to another 15 years for at least those?
I
No.
have not had that situation. As
Okay.
long as it's out of there and there's a couple of years or whatever, it's usually pretty good. I haven't had anything.
Okay.
All right.
So, and it's not, let me clarify, I don't want to be misleading. There's a couple years there where they let you skip the monitoring, but then you have to,
Right.
it's not every single year, but it's for 15 years.
I love trees, so thank you for the coloring that you have there.
You're welcome.
It's helpful to me. So I like the 2-to-1 and the 3-to-1. Where are you gonna put these native trees?
I didn't bring it this evening because it's difficult to see, but it was included in the notice of intent
Okay.
in the plan set. I did include the actual planting plan, because when I do a ecological restoration, I want to make sure it's followed. So I put all the species in there that I'm utilizing, and everything is native to the site. So I believe it was white oak, red oak, black cherry. There weren't any pines, but there weren't any evergreens in this because of the rare species prefers more hardwoods.
You give me a minute, I might be able to pull that up for you.
Thank you. I remember there was gray birch, red maple, I'm trying to think what else. I think that's the majority. There may be 1 or 2 more that I'm not recalling.
So trees like different locations and different soils?
Yes.
So, where have you, do you know where?
It's
you're gonna-
based upon, the soils are pretty sandy here, and when we put the plants in We usually mix some topsoil in it so that if it's a deep sandy B layer, which it is here, we'll have a little bit higher amount of carbon. And we always make sure that the soils that's used, because it's up to the contractor, if they brought invasives in, they're gonna remove them, and not at the cost of the client. So that's something we always try to do. That makes sure people aren't grabbing a landscaper's pile full of invasives, because we don't want that.
I didn't bring it down, it's on the packet that went out.
Do we have a septic system on site or not?
So we have a septic system proposed in the front of the site. We're basically kind of in front of the existing houses. It'll be a relatively small system because, as you can imagine, there's not a lot of flow for septic. There'll be, a couple of employees. Customers do not use the bathrooms, so it's a pretty small septic system.
And how about the existing homes? Do they have pits or septic
I
systems?
believe they both have cesspools, so they're
So
old,
they'll
and
be-
at least 50 years old, and they're
Yeah,
not working
That
properly,
improves
so-
the site.
Yes, absolutely.
Also in the areas that I mentioned, so the house currently, I believe, is located it's right in here. It's pretty close to this one wetland flag. So that's where the house is currently located. We will be bringing in a small amount of topsoil. And again, weed-free. I believe I have specs 6 to 8 inches for that area. And it will be mixed a little bit lower than that for the ball of the trees. Will be placed in those locations. And on top of it, they'll roll out coconut matting, or jute mesh with straw, and it will be stapled to avoid erosion. So we will have in front of that, I believe, straw wattle. We have to use silt fence on the site. There will be silt fence and not as the primary sediment barrier for the perimeter because of the rare species. So that we will be doing that. We can put the secondary, either straw wattle or filter net or something along those lines, inside for the fine sediment control.
Is there gonna be any retaining walls up against the because it's so close to the, the wetland there? Is there gonna be retaining wall used so nothing would spill, or
That's
you can
correct.
encroach it that close but not?
There is one retaining
problem.
wall at the rear of the car wash. As you turn into the site and you go around to enter the car wash, there is one retaining wall there, but I believe it's 6 to 8 feet tall, but it's also there to protect additional encroachments into the areas we're trying to replicate and restore.
And nothing on the side?
That's the
Of
only
where the
one, is
house
that
is?
one I was telling you about, by
That's
the
just that
entrance
one.
of the car wash, correct? Yeah.
You haven't been to the planning board,
No,
so
I believe it's.
we expect any
We'll be going to the zoning board of appeals.
zoning board. Yeah.
Planning board will not be seeing this project. I believe we filed with them, so they'll be doing, I believe we need a special permit and also site plan review with zoning board of
I was
appeals.
just curious as to whether you foresee any potential changes that they might want to make that'll affect all of this.
My hunch is that if we're gonna have a peer review, I would assume. And I
Right.
assume that the focus of that will be grading and drainage.
Yeah.
Usually it's what it is, and going through drainage calculations and, making changes to that. I don't see any specific site design changes to speak of,
Right.
other than maybe adding a tree or two, you know what I mean? So,
Just one comment on that. We have had several meetings before with them, informal meetings, and we have brought this before them, and we have made some adjustments to the site. We have narrowed it down, we have brought it back, so these adjustments were made before. We have been before you guys. So many adjustments were made to make sure that we are complying as much as possible. So as he said, we don't foresee many changes, especially major design changes to the project.
Not that it falls with this board, but
Exactly.
how do you foresee traffic flow? To the right only, or?
We're going to have it right only when you leave, for sure. And coming in, as you can see, there are 2 lanes. They are very long lanes, and the pay booths, they are only at the end. So you can get a lot of the traffic that comes in. If, let's say, that many people want to go to the car wash because it's such a wonderful facility, which will be, we are able to contain many cars. And one of the lanes is members only, so the members who come, they will go automatically. It's an all automated system. So you will have something that your car will be scanned, you will go, it will scan your car, you go right in, get into the tunnel, 2 minutes in, your car is clean, you're free to go. So it's very fast, the turnout, very fast, so.
There's a site in Whitman, that you're probably aware of, and
Yes.
the cars back up onto the adjacent street. Are we gonna be able to,
That's what we want to avoid. That's why we are automating everything. We will have the lanes, they will be fully automated to prevent that. And that's why we are having memberships and we are
Yeah.
running specials to have, especially for locals, to have memberships that we will have very low cost to have memberships so you can come and avoid the lines, pay a very small fee and you can run it straight without just having your car scanned, and you don't have to pay for anything, you just go by and that's it, there are no
but
lines whatsoever.
you're not gonna back up on 106, I'm sure people aren't
We
gonna
are not
stop
going
traffic.
to, we have 2 lines to get that, we're not backing
Well,
up.
You can't predict that, that might happen.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But,
You can say
what about the,
It-
vacuums? People park there to do vacuum, is that gonna lead to the congestion of the drive-through area, or be able to get in and out?
We have two lanes, 2 sides, so it is a total now of 20, how many did we end up with,
I think
26?
21 spaces total.
For vacuums?
Yes.
Including 88 spaces, parking and all that.
And you
Okay.
you go through the tunnel and you are able to get out or to go to the vacuums.
Okay.
And you can go in and out without having to go through the tunnel or after. So you can go in, just go through the vacuums, go out, you don't need to go through.
My interest is on those vacuums. They are extremely loud. I live right next door to this project. What about the loud noise from the vacuums?
So
What are
we
you
are.
gonna do with them?
We are using a very high-tech, these are the latest technology vacuums. So actually, we were concerned about that. This is something that came up. So we are using very expensive machinery just so we don't have that. But they pass the decibels, all the decibel limits. They pass those tests. They are regularly inspected to make sure that we don't have that kind of disturbance to the area. And we don't run, the car wash will be operating, the operating hours will not go over
I was
8
just gonna say
PM.
that, yeah.
And this in the summer, because usually we will close before that, but 8 PM is the cutting limit for the operating hours.
okay.
But is that, because I know some places with the car washes, even though they're not open, you can also go in there no matter what and use the vacuums anytime. Is that gonna be something that people can just go in
Not
and use?
after hours, not after hours.
How are you gonna eliminate that from happening for people just driving in there?
We're going to close it.
Is there gonna be like gates or something?
Yes,
or-
we're
okay.
going to chain it, close it,
Okay.
either a gate or a chain or something like that, but it will be closed, and we will be the ones to open it and close it to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Okay.
What time do you open?
Probably, we're still discussing that, but probably 7 AM.
And will you have somebody monitoring?
Yes, at all times,
In case there's some
we will have,
disturbance there or
Yes.
anything like that?
3 or 4 people at a time.
yes, we will have a minimum of 2 people at all times. But when there's more movement, we will have more people. But at all times, we will have a closed circuit of cameras as well, 24/7, of course. But there will be monitoring all times.
Did you look at the planting plan?
Yes, and it's pretty extensive. I will say, I have
Tim
one
is an
site,
expert
a
at
lot of
this anyway,
nominations.
so, yeah.
Yes.
The other advantage is there's also a lot of tires that you're inheriting
Tires
on
are
the
coming
site.
out, Yes.
Yeah.
There's a bit of trash and debris, there's some carpets, there's a few other things, so that'll come out, and that's in the ecological restoration plan, and it's one of the first steps.
Yeah.
So it's treat the invasives, so after the approvals, after we get through MIPA, first thing is, if we could do it maybe, if we started this fall or next year, we would treat the invasives, clean up all the debris, and then, as long as it looks successful, I have to have it under 25% before I will allow planting to occur. Because I don't want to be spraying or,
Yeah.
we're not gonna do any spraying actually, cut and treat, but I don't want people trampling over stuff. So any herbicide that is needed, I prefer weeding, if we can weed, and also using a weed wrench. So you attach it to the base of small shrubs, you can rip it out, especially if we have machinery on site, but we're also not gonna be driving down really outside of the project. So they have a jack type system where you can put it's a little plate, you can jack the base out, they can use that. Or if it's something really that has a lot of extensive roots and you don't think you're gonna get it, we cut it, and in the fall, we apply herbicide, but there's no foliar spraying. It's applied directly to the cut base, and it's done in mid-August through mid-October, when all of the sugars or sap is running down into the roots. That's the only time it's applied, because basically, if you apply it to the basal area right after the cut, you can't cut it and come back, several days later. It doesn't work that way. It's almost immediate after the cut.
Yeah.
Apply it to the base, and it absorbs the herbicide into its roots. And
I
then
saw them
spray
doing that at one of our national parks.
Yes,
I asked them, that's interesting, that's exactly what they were doing.
yes. I do a lot of this work. I've been doing it for about since 2002, but a lot of it in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So I have a large project right now down in Yarmouth on Parker River. So we're doing a job for the town down there. So it's a lot of fun. Also, I wanted to mention, around the perimeter here, as far as keeping trash from going out and keeping keep the trash in and the wildlife out, there will be a chain link fence going around the perimeter of the property. And that's also for the rare species. And then on the bottom 2 feet and 18 inches below ground will be hardware cloth. And that is to prevent anything from digging underneath, especially the rare species, or trying to climb up and get through. It's put up to 24 inches above ground. So, and that's been approved by Natural Heritage. So we will be doing that. There is an O&M plan, of course, to clean up the trash and everything around the site and inspect all the stormwater structures. It's in there, so it's part of our application.
My only other comment on the plantings, we typically require 4 to 6 foot for the trees versus the 18 to 24 inch, so.
One of the things I would say, they're typically a little less stressed when they're smaller. Once we put the chain link fence in, it's gonna be difficult to get back there. If you have a couple that are die, we could probably, we can go around up here, but if they're large.
And that's why the 4 to 6 we normally look for, because in a 3-gallon, 4-gallon, 5-gallon pot, you can find them and they're easy to plant, you can lift them and move them easy. 18 to 24, you're not out there constantly, they get lost real quick, especially in the trees. The shrubs, not so much.
Yeah.
I've experienced a little bit, I've had better luck with the 18 to 24, especially with the 15-year plan, but we can go larger.
And my only other one was snow storage. How are you gonna deal with the snow, because on the site there's,
I put it in the report.
I just wanna make sure it's adequate,
Yeah,
because
we
it
have
was a
these
pretty
areas
small
on the
area for all the
islands.
parking.
I put it on the islands as well.
Okay.
So it's, and I think we put in there for the winter, if that's the situation, probably take a few more spaces as well.
Okay.
I believe I had hay bales, I'm trying to remember for this plan, because I just did a few of them. I think I put hay bales around it as well, so make sure it didn't get in, but again, this is all self-contained.
How dry is this vehicle going to be, especially in the winter, when it is all finished and goes out onto Route 106?
That would be a question for them.
So that's back to me. So we have blowers to blow them as they go out. So they are going to have very hot air blowing out. And not only that, but we are having heat plaques right under when they leave, because one of the concerns that was raised in one of these meetings was the dripping that would come out of the car because you cannot dry them enough. And the concern for black ice. So what we are doing is we are adding some heat plaques right under the way out, the exit of the car wash. So when the car drips, that will dry right out instantly, and there will be no dripping.
It's funny, 'cause
Hopefully.
I went,
Hopefully, it's right.
there's a car wash down in Wareham, and I went through it, and it's one of the big ones that are all automated, quick through and all that stuff. And at the end, it's got a bunch of, as you said, hot heaters,
Yes,
I mean, hot blowers, but they also have heaters too.
yes,
Up on
yes.
top.
Yes, yeah, 2 or 3 of them. I know
Which
which
I'd
one
never
you're talking
seen
about.
before, yeah, and then I was looking at what you were saying, how dry does it
Yeah.
get, because
Yes.
I hate pulling out of a car wash or something like that, getting your car cleaned. It's not dry, you go down the road and you get these streaks. But I'm not just saying that, but as you were saying, for the drops on the,
Exactly,
Yeah.
out of
because
there on the
safety is
driveway.
a big concern as well, so
Yeah.
getting it on the floor is
Yeah.
something that's important as well.
You think you'll have towels out there?
Towels, then?
You know, so when you go through and stop, you get out and wipe the car off, or?
Well, we're
No, it's out of
hoping
here.
we don't have that problem. We are, of course, we are planning to run many tests before
Of
we
course,
have that.
of course.
From our experience today in Warwick, where we currently have, we are running those tests as well, but we don't have that kind of problem. Of course, this winter that we had was a very mild one,
Yeah.
so we don't know how it's going to be moving forward.
Right.
But you can be sure, and I say that with all the love, I have 3 kids, they have kids as well, that we are concerned that safety, it is a priority for us. So you can rest assured that whatever things we need to adjust as we move forward, we will, because this is a concern. Even if this gets approved and down the line we go, oh, this is something we didn't predict and it's happening, it will be addressed.
And another thing was, I think we talked about, said something about the driveway going out. Is it gonna be centered with West Street, or is it gonna be offset to not,
Right here on the plan.
to go out?
So
In and
West
out.
Street's over here, it's right here.
Well,
It's off-
that's the way it's going out?
That's, I believe, yeah. I
It's
believe
going
that's
right,
And
and
then
we
it goes
we
down.
discussed,
Going that
we
way.
discussed
Oh.
this.
No, we know right well that they're going to be trying to get across into West Street, or take a left out of that driveway, no matter what. It should be tilted.
It will be
Yes,
tilted
it will
to
be
the-
tilted,
Really
and
tilted to the
we are
right.
moving as far to the left as possible, so people will not try to cross it, to move
Oh,
across.
they will.
Because now they go into where this property is, they are right
Yes,
around.
this is what we are planning to try to contain as much as possible. It will be completely tilted, and there will be signs and whatever we can do to prevent people from
Well,
crossing.
doesn't prevent people from doing stupid
Yes, the
things.
wrong things, yes, that is true.
That will happen
Yeah,
eventually.
we've seen that in this
Oh, yeah.
town already.
We can't even get out of our driveway and take a left turn.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't
Doesn't
even
even
try.
work.
No,
Yes.
Well, you know, it's another business on 106, traffic. I think in the long run, the environmental, being able to make it more better for the environment in the
Environmentally
end
friendly.
is gonna be a payoff, at least for the town, for that part. And hopefully everything, I'm sure it'll work out with the car wash. I mean, I don't know. That's me, I don't know, I'm sure there's a few people opposed to it, but
We tried to make it so you have a betterment here, and that, the betterment is, there's 2.88 acres right now that are currently disturbed. We would, 0.63 acres would be the project. 0.72 would be the ecological restoration. And 2.273 would be what goes under permanent conservation restriction. So it's only 0.63 of it will be the project.
Yeah.
Over 2 acres is going in permanent conservation restriction, never to be touched again.
as of right now, it's not that way,
No,
so, which is good.
someone else could come along and do something very
Of course.
different.
Yep. All right,
So, I've been to a lot of car washes, and one of the irritating things about car washes is the noise level, such as, I'll give you an example. First of all, is your car wash, you'll be able to go in and then go to the vacuum section, or is that separate?
No, you will be able to go in.
So it's connected?
Yes.
Okay, is there a time limit for cars being, because I'm going to car washes, the loud music, is that enforced that to keep the loud music down?
There is no music.
Well, that's
mean-
what you say.
you mean the cars?
If
The
your
cars
kids come
itself?
around and start blasting the music,
Oh,
you'll
the
kill
kids.
5
The
people.
cars itself, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would
Yes.
Oh,
have
yeah.
to be, yeah.
Yes.
So for
That's
the,
very irritating, and is there an enforcement on these type of vehicles coming in, blasting their music? In other words, if there's a time limit from the time you get out, is somebody monitoring and say, okay, time is up, you gotta go?
so for the vacuums, it will not, there will be some control to it. So the vacuums are not just, you come in and they just operate for as long as you would like.
Right.
So there will be a limit. We are still discussing how long that will be, 2, 3, 4 minutes. But there will be a limit to, of use to the vacuums, exactly to prevent that, because we've learned from experience that if you leave it just free, people will just loiter. So we don't want that, especially because we don't want people to just stay there. We want people to circulate, because we don't want the traffic there is already bad enough. We don't want to add to it. So yes, there will be a limit to it, but we have employees who will be working on the site, who will be surveilling the site, and they will be there to monitor that as well. And you will also have our contacts to please file complaints, to talk to us directly in case there is something. We are always accessible to address that.
Could you put up signs too that say no loud music
Yes,
and all that stuff?
absolutely, absolutely.
To help at least and say,
Yeah.
oh, we didn't know this, or didn't know that, and here's a
Absolutely.
sign, and if you're gonna complain.
Because that
Yes.
is sort of irritating,
Yeah.
you're gonna wash your car and
So, yeah, okay, you wouldn't be opposed to doing that then,
Yes.
you do it.
Be
Yes.
different if you
Oh,
didn't
for
have
sure.
employees on the site.
Yeah.
Be a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody there, so,
Yes.
okay. All right, anybody else got anything? All right, I'll
Yeah.
entertain a motion to hire 53G.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then entertain a motion to continue to the June 18th?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all set.
And again, as I said to the last one, we'll see how the 18th works, because I know
Yes.
zoning, I'm not sure whether you have a date set yet, so if you don't, we can work around that. But we do only meet once in July.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks.
All right.
You're welcome.
Next one up is South Elm Street. And,
Can I ask if you can tell whether there have been any continuances on the docket that we're not aware of?
what do you guys looking
109
at?
Spring Street,
109, that's continued.
see you in a couple of weeks.
0 Crescent Street is continued.
Till.
I know that's probably all right.
I know, yeah.
That's what it's, oh, I kind of, well, it'd be,
The 18th, and it is posted on the typically Friday before the week of our
Yeah.
meetings with the town clerk, and it is posted on the conservation's
Big
website too,
board.
the schedule.
but,
And I do put them in bold red for the continuance dates, so that there's notice. If you have any questions, call the conservation office and I'll let you know if it has been continued. Thank you.
but if you have any questions now while you're here, just like an update maybe, we can kind of give you if you're looking for that, maybe, possibly, or,
Do you have any updates?
I don't know, I'm just.
The only update for 109, I can tell you that there are a new set of plans coming. I have not seen them yet. The deadline is the Monday before the week of the meeting, so I should have them, I think it's the 10th, by noon, if they want to present or have anything for the next meeting.
We had asked for certain things at the last meeting, you may or may not remember.
So it's still 5 lots going on with?
Yeah.
That I'm
we
not
had some
sure.
We had some other concerns that we.
Right.
Yeah.
Will there be another notice sent out regarding a meeting, or is it
There
still-
won't be another notice, so either check the town's website, because if you look at the calendar,
Yeah.
it'll show in the conservation meeting, and you can see posted there, or the conservation page, the agenda also would list it. Or again, call the office and I'll let you know.
No sense coming when, you know.
I will tell you, they have moved everything outside of the 50-foot no touch. I don't know how that affects their design plans.
What does that mean?
There's a 50-foot no touch buffer in our bylaw,
Mhm.
and the engineer has had to redesign it to stay outside that 50-foot zone.
And I think it was just
So
basically a
it-
roadway?
It's for the roadway had to get shifted, I believe, in order for them to make
So
it.
is it within the 50 feet or outside?
It has to stay outside of
Outside of,
the
okay,
50
gotcha.
foot.
They
So-
wanted it within, but we
Yeah,
wanted it to stay out no matter what. And they have done
So I
that.
don't
the
know how
planning
that
is
changes
still
their
set for
frontage and
July
the amount of
4th.
lot size per lot.
18.
Because of the holiday, we don't have a meeting right in
so it's the
there.
18th.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 18th, on both of them, but even 0 Crescent Street too. So,
Okay.
So far, they could
yeah. they
continue
still
it again.
continue, yeah.
Right, right.
So,
And again, if I do have new plans on the 10th, if you want to give me a call the 11th, they're available to look at, they're available to share. And that would tell you if there's going to be anything new for the hearing. If I don't get them by noon on the 10th, then they don't make the deadline to present the new information. So-
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Sorry, you had to sit through this one.
That's okay.
Yeah, we could have probably
There's a few things here, that was good. I'm glad you guys came.
thought you were car wash people.
Yeah. well, And gas station.
Evening, huh? Andrea?
Hey,
Good night.
did you know about the change?
No.
No,
I just read what I saw.
Hello,
hello. How are you?
Good,
Good to see you out and about.
It is good to be seen.
But the Harvestwood side,
How you doing? Well,
Why they-
How are you, my friend? How you feeling?
Okay.
that goes to
You going to Groton the end of the
Oh,
month?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Be a nice day.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't see it before.
Right,
One of the
wouldn't-
breakfasts.
The 50,
Say again?
The
right,
Veterans
right,
Breakfast.
wouldn't change.
I think it's in a week or two
Oh,
on
really?
Tuesday.
Well, the
Yeah,
wetland line
9
is,
a.m.
you had 50 feet of
If
where
not,
that
we'll
line
see you
would
on the-
become, and that's where he
Okay.
can't.
Take
See you
care.
later.
Within
Yeah.
that 50 feet.
I just didn't know
I
if
bet
he
you.
had so much water and it went much further into his property.
Well,
That was.
I'm looking that way. I'm looking that way.
The ability to build certain houses.
He can't add any more drainage or runoff to that in this development than what's there now.
But when he builds the foundation to the houses and disrupts
Have a good night.
the ground,
Push 'em
how
all.
would that push the water table back towards our house?
It shouldn't, and it's not supposed to in the development. And so any of the runoff, any of the foundations, any of the groundwater shouldn't be leaving his property any more than it is today. So that's the way it's supposed to be
Sure, no, I
designed.
understand.
So, I mean,
Right,
infiltration basins, storage basins, however he has to.
yeah, because the water level is really high this year.
Yeah.
So-
That's why the wetland line had changed from the last time he had it delineated.
Right.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
All right, thanks
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
You too.
All right, well, we just went to the bathroom.
Yep.
All right, the next one up is 109, yeah.
South Elm Street. You had to read that one into the record even though it's continued?
Oh, South
The new
Elm Street,
hearing.
sorry. Yeah. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, MGL, as amended, the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaw and rules and regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, on a notice of intent on South Elm Street for a proposed replacement of existing bridge over West Meadow Brook.
And the applicant was gracious enough to acquiesce to the 18th, so we didn't have a third new public hearing tonight on a night that's already pretty booked. Because when it went to the public notices, we also, I didn't know weren't gonna have the two subdivisions ask for continuances, so.
Yep.
But I will give you a little background. They wanted to wait anyways, because Natural Heritage, they're hoping to get the information back from them. And for those that don't know exactly where this is, it's past the transfer station, the brook that's there. It's got a 2 culvert system made of stone, and it's in desperate need of repair. I can tell you that the town would like to get it done by this winter.
Yeah,
So
that'd be nice.
amongst all the other construction happening at 106, you may have something happening on South Elm Street, which could make getting to Scotland Street in that area difficult. I'm not sure yet until they come in to tell us what their plans are for road closures or changes, but.
Is it gonna be the town doing it? Or are they gonna-
No, it'll be an outside contractor putting this all in. Their proposal, and I shared with you, I believe, the plans. It's a one-system concrete box that would just get dropped into place.
Yeah.
There'll be sidewalks on one side of it, so it's a pretty substantial upgrade.
Okay.
They asked to continue the 16th, I mean the 18th.
Got anything to that? I'll entertain a motion to continue to June 18th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next one is 109 Spring Street. For a notice of intent for a general stormwater management permit.
And they've requested to continue.
Just continue that one.
Yep.
Nothing to say about it.
Nope,
Okay.
we're just waiting for the new plans.
Entertain a motion to continue to June 18th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And next one is 0 Crescent Street, which is also continued.
They've requested to continue. I know they've got another set of plans that we've just received. And the 53G review has in process, so. And they're both doing the planning boards as well.
Okay. So entertain a motion to continue to June 18th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, then get some off West Street, Old West Street.
And I apologize for Andrew, because I told him probably be here for 7/7/15 to discuss the changes that he has for the, off Old West Street. So Andrew, do you want me to present or you want to present?
I'm happy to walk through it, and then if you have any kind of comments, I want to wrap it up, by all means, but I have the plan and I can share my screen
Okay.
if that's easy for you guys.
Yep.
And this will by no means be the latest meeting this week, so do not worry at all. That was totally fine with us.
You should be able to, I put share screen so you can pull them up if you
Awesome.
want.
Thank you. Yep. So while I'm pulling that up, thanks for having us tonight as an administrative item. The commission, I'm sure, is familiar with the site and remembers that we were with you guys from about February of 2022 to about December of 2022, going over a large-scale ANRAD for the site with a full site delineation survey. The goal of us tonight is, since that point, we've actually brought a new engineer onto the project. Actually, she's out with us on the call as well. It's Merrill Engineering. We have Deb Keller from Merrill. Since coming onto the project, Merrill themselves went out and did a significant amount of new field work. They got more detailed topo, more detailed boundary, tree line, and resurveyed the wetland flags. And so what we are doing is submitting what is a corrected, more accurate, and more detailed plan onto the record for the site. As part of that new survey was ongoing, we were finding areas where the wetland flags were not perfectly lining up. They were located up on fill piles a little bit where we wouldn't typically see them. I know during the ANRAD review, actually Tim himself had a bunch of questions about topo availability. As the commission knows, there's a significant amount of cut and fill on this site where there's fill piles located throughout, and the original plans reflected portions of what's available for topo, but not everything. And so what we have done is had Merrill go out there actually as recently as the spring of this year and provide a whole new survey of what's been out there. It's important to note that the delineation did not change at all. The flags that Tim and I reviewed in the field just under 2 years ago now are still the same flags that were there, but the survey itself was corrected. So it's an entire new plan set. The limit of confirmation under the ANRAD has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the survey. I think an excellent sheet to capture to the commission what I'm talking about would be sheets C35 right here and sheets C36. So what we have here is a more detailed survey that shows significant limits of the tree line on the property as well as the fill piles. These were areas where on the original site survey when Merrill was doing work on the property, we would see wetland flags that would hit fill piles and topos that were close but did not make perfect sense of what they're finding out on the property. So what they did was get a much more detailed survey for us that now shows all of the fill piles, the location of the wetland flag, and updated buffer zones that make significant sense to what you're expecting to see out there. I have another visual that I think might actually be more helpful for the commission that David prepared for us as well, that shows an overlay of what's changed from the original ANRAD. And so it helps for us to see what we saw and why we corrected the plans. You guys see this new plan is now? Perfect. So what we see here is the old ANRAD line that you guys would have seen on the original submitted plan set is shown in orange as the historic limit of what we had here. The blue is what we had resurveyed and rediscovered. So when Merrill was updating the entire site survey of the same wetland flag, but just field checking each and every flag, we found that generally the areas of the flags were correct, but the most recent survey that we know to be accurate actually showed a lot of areas that just slightly would have bumped up a little bit closer, and many areas not friendly to the site or any expected project on it, but they are what we know to be correct, and so the plan was to update the site plans. We also noticed that the only major revision is the isolated wetlands that we had shown in the center of the site are actually larger in the field than the original survey showed. The flags were always there. Tim and I would have reviewed them in the field, but it appears that during the site survey, portions of them were never gone back and reflagged. And so although we confirmed them as accurate in the field, the plans did not reflect the correct location. So we have increased the survey in this area to correct what was originally flagged in the field as a larger isolated wetland and correctly define that on the plans here. And the only other major revision to the plans is to correctly identify the detention basin in the southeast corner of the site. There are actually two detention basins on the site, one associated with the solar field and one with the roadway. We originally only identified the solar field one as a detention basin. So to reiterate, it's the delineation was always the same. We have not hung any new flags out there. It was a new survey based on what Tim and I looked at in the field, but it was a survey that we found to be more detailed, more accurate. It's the one that we are confident about moving forward. So we wanted to bring this to the commission's attention and accept a more detailed and correct plan on the record. Deb, if you want to add anything to that, or Tim, then by all means, but that's what I have for the commission tonight.
Oh, great job. Nothing from my end. Thank you.
I don't have any
Thanks,
questions.
No, it's, as Andrew said, it's more an administrative change that we're accepting an updated set of plans that are more accurate
Right.
and reflect what really is there. I mean, the roadway did have a drainage system layout. They identified it, put it on it. We knew that there was one with a solar field because that was part of the permitting for that.
Yeah.
But
How long ago was that put in?
the solar field?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Solar field, I think, was 2010?
Yeah, I remember that coming through.
Yeah.
That sounds about right to me.
Yeah, it's been there a while.
And this has just been revised from then?
The ANRAD we did, the
Yeah.
wetland line, that was in 2022. We
Okay,
approved that.
2022,
So
okay.
going forward with their design, they just want to use the best accurate.
Yeah.
So with Merrill's system, they've updated it to the most accurate. So.
Okay, sounds good.
So we
All right,
need a
so
motion. Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the new plans that were revised May 7th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we got 215.
All right,
West,
thank you, Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Thank you guys for your time. Tim, thank you.
215 West Center Street for a certificate of compliance request.
We'll share the screen. And this is, I'm not sure whether you're familiar where 215 is. It's next to Hockomock Plaza.
That house.
There was a house that was just
Put in a
rehabbed,
new
a little
system.
tiny,
Yeah.
with a crushed stone driveway.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
grass seed has come up, the markers are in place.
There it is.
They put the septic right over
Yeah,
right under
that-
the driveway.
Right under the driveway. which is why I'm thinking they may have left it crushed stone.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think there's so much, well,
I'm
they
thinking
didn't
that
have much
crushed
other
stone's
space.
eventually gonna be pushed with the first snowstorm to the
True.
back of the driveway, but that's for the new owner to deal with. But at this point, they've met all the requirements, everything's in place. So I have no problem issuing a certificate of compliance.
All right, so I entertain a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 215 West Center Street.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I can update you on all the previous violations we
I was
had
gonna
have
ask you, yeah.
resolved themselves,
Okay.
except for one, which is 266 Pleasant Street. We're having a little dilemma on that one because the building inspector also has sent out certified and regular mail. I had my regular mail returned, address unknown. The certified letter has not come back yet. The building inspector had the opposite happen. So we're using the database the assessors have for tax purposes, so they're not getting their tax bills, I'm guessing, either, if there's a problem. So we're tracking down the responsible
What's the
parties.
issue there? What was the issue?
Yeah.
I mean,
The back of the.
violation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I think more stormwater related than wetlands. DEP shows a pond or wet area on the property. I'm not sure whether that's real or not. But they've paved almost, or torn up and put asphalt or millings on almost the entire back part of the property, which is well over the 15,000 square foot of disturbed space. Building inspector's having problems with it because it looks like it's now a contractor's yard.
Yep.
But it's also a three-family house, so you can't have both.
So you're tracking them down.
Yeah, we're gonna track them down. Other than that, there was a couple bills. I will mention that it is the end of the fiscal year coming up.
I have seen on South Elm Street there, that house,
Yep,
been doing some work.
he spent the holiday
Weekend, yes. I saw
digging
that.
everything out, and he actually had to take a couple days off of work to finish because it was more work than he thought.
And I
That was
noticed,
the driveway?
Yes.
but I also
So-
noticed that all the stuff that he had dug out is up against the.
Some of it he took out. There was a hill that was there. He
Yeah.
did leave loom against it to replant, to re-establish
Oh,
the
all
high
right, so that's
spot.
what he was probably gonna do
Right,
then, all
so
right.
it looks worse than what it is until it gets reseeded and comes back.
Okay. So that's that one done, and then.
The Leo Park Drive one was all set.
Everything on, lamppost, the 9,
Lamppost, they just have to do some planting. Everything was removed.
Was removed.
Everything was taken out from the area. But they know that once they're done with their project, they have to stabilize it. And
that is funny now, because you knew damn well that was gonna happen, that those yards are so small back there, and you knew somebody was gonna try to do something.
you
Yeah.
know,
Huh. All right,
I got a quick question.
yes,
May I?
go for it.
Tim?
Can't hear.
I didn't have anything else other than Riverwalk.
I got a question.
Yes, question first.
With the car wash and that land that's gonna be in permanent conservation,
Yep.
with who? The town, the state?
No, they will put a restriction on the deed for the property itself.
Okay.
So it will go with the deed on the property forever forward.
Okay.
They can't do much here anyway, can they?
They can't, there is a small sliver at the back end that is upland.
Yeah.
That is outside.
Right.
You could also have another project come in that doesn't have to abide by our 50-foot no touch.
Yeah, that could be a.
And they're giving us the 50-foot minus a little bit of it, but they're adding some more upland in the back, so it's kind of,
They seem
I
pretty.
see it more as a win than a loss.
Right, so
Yeah.
it goes in the deed.
Right,
Yeah.
stays with the deed for the property permanently. And Riverwalk seemed to be a success. It was great weather, good turnout. I did hear that we only had 2 people go in for a swim, which was the first time somebody fell in from one of the canoes or kayaks.
Oh, really?
But they survived.
Yeah.
No injury, and we didn't have to send the Coast Guard to get them.
I was very surprised that they got it in, which is good.
And
They,
that, kudos go to Jack Ames for that. He actually did a system with rollers and
Rollers.
lifted it and got it rolled into place, so.
Because I was away that weekend, Nick was away, and I said to him when I got back, I said, you did a good job putting it in. He goes, I didn't put it in. I'm like, okay, well, that's where it's gonna stay now.
And I will give kudos to
to it
the,
in now all year round.
thank you to the highway department for cutting the meadow beforehand.
Did they
They
do
went
that?
through and cut down the really
Nice.
tall grass
Nice.
to get it whacked back.
Good.
Nice.
Other than that, that's all I had.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a good night, Steve.
Thanks, Dave.